Hello. Welcome to our third and final webinar of the spring term 2021. My name is Jenny Cashman Wilson and I am the founder of the Abram Wilson Foundation, and we've put these webinars together thanks to funding from Arts Council England, PRS Foundation, the William Waits Memorial Trust and a number of other funders and donors, so thank you very much to them. If you are watching live, we'd love to hear where you're from, so please tap in the comments box where you're at right now. We appreciate that schools have gone back this week, which is very exciting. So we're kind of hoping that on the one hand, we'd love people to be tuning in live, but on the other hand, we're very much hoping that people are enjoying being outside and being with their friends at school. So a little bit about this webinar. Sans Soucis is going to basically delve into her creative process. So she's going to talk you through how she goes from an initial idea to a commercial release. So she's going to go into detail about the songwriting process, collaborations, production and mixing, and how you can incorporate your story into your artistic vision. So a little bit about Sans Soucis. She's a London-based singer-songwriter. She's a producer and a guitarist. She draws her inspiration from Frank Ocean, Joni Mitchell, Lauryn Hill, James Blake and St. Vincent. She fuses her classic songwriting with melancholy and hope, which I kind of feel is very appropriate for the times we're living in. She connects her music with her cultural background, honing a style rooted in her Italian and Congolese heritage. She's been releasing music independently since 2018, and she's attracted support from a huge list, including BBC Six Music, Spotify New Music Friday, Clash Magazine, KCRW, Earmilk, The Line of Best Fit, Afropunk, The Independent, PRS Foundation, MOBO Awards, BBC One Extra, The Selector, Jazz FM and Worldwide FM. Phew, that was a lot. So before I introduce Sans Soucis into our virtual world, we're just going to show you a short video that we shot last autumn in London, where Sans Soucis is based, which just kind of gives you a little flavour about her as a person and an artist. So enjoy that and I'll be back in a minute.
Hi, my name is Sans Soucis. I'm a singer-songwriter and producer living in London, and I was born in Italy. Sans Soucis means no worries, and it's the nickname that my grandma used to give me when I was a child. My heritage is really important in my music. I can never forget about being born and raised in Italy. I can never forget about all the parties in my Congolese side of the family with rumba Congolese or Coffee Olomide or Franco, and all those nights where my parents used to go and have fun and jump with their friends with guitars and play classics of Italian music. I remember I started feeling more confident about my guitar playing because I saw Lianne La Havas playing and I was like, oh my god, she's mind-blowing, you know, and that was a powerful image for me. Seeing people like India Moore, and they're doing so much for queer people and black people across the world, or Diane Abbott, who is a hero, and everything she's done for representation in politics and what she's doing still today for the Black British experience. This is something that I hope I'll be able to do with my music and my artistry in the future. My guitar is the first place where I start creating things. I never think about a concept unless I am looking at a bigger body of work, but I keep writing constantly so that I'm always in the loop of creating, and when the big inspiration comes, I usually have my best songs and compositions. I think the healthiest thing that a musician can do is actually have a hobby outside of music. I do spend some time meditating, so I have periods of times where I meditate pretty much every day. I love painting because I don't think about anything else. It's not nice to have 3,000 thoughts at the same time, so painting is my moment of nothing. I started working with the Abram Wilson Foundation in 2019, and ever since I just loved working with them on every single project. I feel like it's a nice way to move away from my own project and do something for a community of people. The Abram Wilson Foundation really cares about young musicians, and that's the most important thing for me. They will find ways to help you if you make yourself visible. And I can definitely see every time I do a workshop the amount of smiles and the impact we have as a team. And I think that's the best I can take out of the experience, just seeing people happy. You know, they provide you with a family.
Hope you enjoyed that video on Sans Soucis. I'm going to welcome Sans Soucis into our little virtual place that we've created. Hello.
Hi, thank you
How are
so much
you
for the
doing?
fantastic introduction. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I loved what you were saying in that video. It was so lovely. And also Sans Soucis means no worries. I love that. It's so beautiful. And that was just your grandma's nickname for you. So
Yeah.
gorgeous. How old were you when you started writing lyrics for songs?
I've always liked writing, so that was my thing when I was younger. And with my sister, we used to do, just some sort of festivals in the house where we would invent songs on the spot. So I guess that was my first interest in songwriting. But literally, when I started writing professionally and understood that that was my thing, I was 20 years old, and I'm 25 now, almost 26.
Wow, so you've kind of been doing it professionally for almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. And how old were you when you started playing guitar?
I was 20 as well, so I would say I started writing songs with my guitar, because I kind of find I found a pretext to use my guitar as a tool to write. Like every time I would learn a chord, I would just write a song, even if it was just one chord, just kind of stretching my abilities to write melodies and lyrics. But I felt like I really needed to communicate something, and I needed to lean on an additional instrument. So that's how it happened for me.
Right. That's so amazing. I love the fact that you were a kind of an older starter, shall we say, because I think often we think that if we haven't started from a very young age, then it's too late. And you're like such a brilliant example of somebody who was really creative growing up, loved music, and then when you were kind of older and maybe more confident, suddenly realized like actually this is something that I really want to do, and that's when you bought your first guitar and taught yourself how to play. And I just think that's really inspiring. I just want to, before I completely hand over to you, Sans Souci, just flagging up the comments box again. I can see a few of you have already pop some comments in, so thank you for that. We're doing a little Q&A at the end of the session, so any kind of questions that kind of pop up during the webinar, if they're not kind of taken up by Sans Souci during the webinar, we'll kind of collate them at the end, and then anything that you can kind of think of at the end would be great. If the stream cuts out, don't worry, we're recording this. We're going to upload it to our YouTube channel after the session, so please subscribe to the Abram Wilson Foundation YouTube channel. And then if you've got any comments about future webinars, any suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions about how we can improve our webinars, that would be great. And that's about it, really. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over. Enjoy the session, everyone. And Sans Souci, I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye. Hi everyone. So lovely to have finally an interactive session. I can see in the comment sections that there's some people from Kent, Lucy, just from Ipswich. So difficult for me to pronounce this word. But welcome to this space. Feel free to drop any sort of question when you feel like you don't understand what I'm doing or what I'm saying. I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview onto what we're going to do today. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask you to multitask and think about who's your favorite songwriter or producer or both, because I really want to understand what's your taste, and maybe some people that I know, some people that inspire me too. But while you think about that, first of all, today we're going to talk about how to fulfill your creative vision. So we're going to do 3 things. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to have a look at how to analyze yourself and how, I can see some people from Ghana. Hi. So we're going to have a look at analyzing your own music. So once you have a song, analyzing your song and drawing some ideas from yourself and from who you are inside your song to inform what you're going to do next. So producing and arranging or mixing and collaborating with people, which is stage number 2. And at the very end, going back to the main concept and to the main analysis of what you've done, and see if you can draw some ideas for anything that could involve visuals, which is also something really interesting when you are an artist of your own. So again, a reminder, think about who's your favorite songwriter. If you want and if you feel brave enough, let me know why this person is your favorite songwriter or what kind of music you enjoy listening to. While you do that, I'm going to play for you a song that I'm going to analyze today, which is one of my latest releases. It's called Red Coat. Hope you'll enjoy this. Just a little bit of it, not all of it. He's got a red coat, knows everybody, but nobody greets back, though they saw the fake cross. Some took the letter and they made a manifesto. That is the best show. The moment nobody gets is twist in our code. Illusion, magic, sword. A missing piece from the puzzle doesn't kill the work. So this was Red Coat. That's just the first verse, a little bit of the song. So that's just a little bit of this song that you can check online because it's available. I'm just having a look at the comment section to see what people are feeling in terms of songwriting. Jess is mentioning Harry Styles. I grew up with One Direction, and I know they have all gone off to their own career, but he inspires me to keep going even on the hard days and makes me feel better. I love Harry Styles. I think he's amazing. His latest album was great, was full of great vibes. I wish I could sing. That's really nice. I mean, everyone can sing as long as you can hear things. So I love Harry Styles. I think he's an amazing songwriter, and I think he produces his music too. I'm not sure. I'm gonna let you know some of my personal taste. I don't know if you're familiar with a band called the Beatles. Hopefully yes. But Paul McCartney and John Lennon are some of my favorite songwriters, and Joni Mitchell too. Who else on my list? Stevie Wonder. So I feel like I belong to that world. Oh, I can see Kwesi is mentioning Nina Simone. Oh my goodness, absolutely. So I'm on that track. Thank you so much for letting me know. I can see there's some good taste going on. So the reason why I asked you about your personal taste is because when you go and write your songs, assuming that you have already a song that you can analyze, you need to draw some links to, first of all, things that you like, because most of the things that you will create, wanting it or not, are things that you've absorbed from people that you like. So if you love Nina Simone, if you love Harry Styles, Lil Kana, oh my God, great shout, Dr. Slim. I love this. But anyways, these people would definitely influence your songwriting. So being able to see that connection will help you exploring more ideas that will inform your production. So that's the first connection that I would make if I had a song. Second connection would be a connection between the song and myself and my history. So I'd like you to think about any sort of questions that you would ask yourself if you were to interview yourself when you have to do this analysis. So just take it as you interviewing yourself and asking yourself some questions that are relevant both to your history, your heritage maybe, what you're reading, or what's your life looking like, or things that you like. So what are some of these questions? While you think about them, I can see there's a lot going on in the chat. So hopefully you have some amazing questions that I can answer to. So while you think about that, I just picked two things from my song. I can see Jenny is asking for an example. So for example, if I have my own song, I'll just look at my song and I would be like, why am I playing this particular groove? Why am I playing in this key? Why am I singing this melody? Which is something really interesting because it's usually connected to something that is a bit unconscious. So if I look at my song, one thing that I asked myself was, in which key am I singing this song? And the key of the song is E minor, for example. If you play guitar, you would know that one of the standard tuning of guitar is E minor. And the beautiful thing about playing in E minor on your guitar is that the wood on your instrument literally in this sort of tuning, the wood of your instrument would create a really warm resonance. So I find it really beautiful that most of my favorite folk songs were written on guitar and that I ended up writing this song in E minor because somehow I wanted to create a really strong atmosphere with my guitar. Thinking about the lyrics, for example, one question you could ask yourself about your lyrics. What was I doing? What was my life looking like when I was writing this song? Interesting. I had to go through that myself because it's interesting to analyze yourself. And at the time I wrote this song, I was reading a lot of short stories by this writer, Russian writer called Alexander Pushkin that I really love. And his style is really descriptive and narrative. And I loved it. And I wanted to find a character that could be somehow a metaphor in my story for something deeper. And this deeper thing that I wanted to talk about was the illusion of a wealthy society that is built on a history of violence, which is something is really related to the work that I'm doing. I'm having a look at the chat because I can see some questions are coming in. So, sing. Yeah, can someone get a job as a songwriter for someone else that can sing? Of course. So for example, if you don't feel like singing your songs, you can just, enjoy the stage of just creating your own songs, and then just go to singers and performers and just ask them if they like your song and if they'd be happy to sing it. There's been a lot of successful songwriters out there that did that for a while, like Sia. I don't know if you're familiar with her work. She wrote a few songs for big stars like Rihanna. I can't remember many others, but like in the pop industry. And then at some point she decided to be her own artist. So there's a lot going on also on the songwriting side of things. What kind of theme are my lyrics based on? How honest are my lyrics versus what I want people to think of me? Interesting. So when I write my own music, I tend to be very authentic with who I am. So that's going back to the very beginning where I said you need to make sure you understand what's your relationship with your music. And my relationship with my music and how I would go about it is a link between who I am and the things that I like and trying to create a perfect balance between these two elements. Amazing. So we kind of covered the analysis part, and now we're getting to the very fun bits of production and arranging. Please make yourself visible if you're a producer, if you arrange, if you play an instrument. And if you play an instrument, what kind of instrument do you play? I'd love to understand what's your connection with your instrument as well. So if you feel like sharing some thoughts about why you play your instruments or what you like about your instrument, I'd be very happy to read them out loud. So moving to production, I would share this information with you that probably is something that you know already. I have a strong connection with my guitar, and I love about my guitar that I can express melodic ideas, but also quite a lot of rhythmical ideas, and that's what I enjoy the most. So when you go and produce your music, that's something that you need to keep in mind, absolutely. So I can see Jess, they play keyboard and piano, amazing, beautiful instrument. Definitely the piano can give you such a great knowledge of harmony, and can really help you developing arrangement for so many different instruments. Cherry, I play drums and produce. Beatrice, guitar, because I can see and feel the vibration, which is wonderful. That's exactly how I feel. And drums and production. I love drums and production too. I feel like when you've got such a nice sense of groove, it's so helpful to take songs to a different place. Also, you might want to explore, since you play drums, Cherry, you might want to explore writing songs entirely on drums. There's some stuff of Beyonce that is absolutely super clever, just drums and vocals, and it sounds good. It sounds amazing. I can see Emma. I play electric and acoustic guitar, piano, ukulele, and sing. Guitar is my main accompaniment when singing. That's amazing. That's wonderful. One thing that I want to mention is that when you want to be a producer or you produce your own music, it's really, really helpful to play a couple of instruments. If more, even better. But nevertheless, if you don't play as many instruments, you can still, get in touch with people and ask them if they want to play on your record or on your song. And in this chat, I can see there's a lot of instrumentalists. So please connect with each other if you can. I'm going to see a few more comments, and then I'm going to show you a project I worked on. So Quasi, I play drumming and piano. Emma, I produce my own covers too. That's amazing. Jess, I got inspired to play at 11 because I felt that I can express my feelings with it. So if I write a sad song, I can use sad keys. And if I want to make cheerful song, I can adjust to the right keys. That's a beautiful thought. And that's one of the things that I go to and for when I produce my music. I always keep into account that my feelings are the first thing and the first criteria. Talking about feelings, I want to share a piece of my heart with you, a project on Logic of this song called Red Coat. So when I was talking about what instrument you play and what connection you have with your instrument, as I said, it was because I really want to make sure you appreciate who you are in the space of songwriting and keep into account everything that is good about your relationship with music. Play to your strengths. My strengths are vocals and guitar for sure, and arranging with these two instruments. So if I go and produce something, it doesn't mean that you need to use these instruments at any cost. But it does mean, though, that you need to make sure you know what's good about the use of this instrument. So if it's rhythm, you might want to translate some rhythmical parts into your production. If it's some melodic parts, maybe you do them with vocals, you might want to translate them into tones or strings. So that's also a good thing to keep in mind. I'm going to keep the chat on the side so that if you have any question about this project, please feel free to ask. So the strongest thing about this song, in my opinion, was the guitar, the rhythm of the guitar, and my vocals interlocked with it. So I'll play a bit of the intro and how the vocals come into the picture. Some took the letter and they made a manifesto. That is the best show. The moment nobody gets is dressed in our gold. Illusion, magic sword. A missing piece from the puzzle doesn't kill the work. Yes, so basically, as I showed you, my vocals, my guitar, you can tell there's a strong relationship between these two elements, and that got me inspired because I thought, you know what, I really like the melody I'm singing. I really love the rhythm that I'm playing with guitar. Why don't I try and write a melodic line with my guitar and experiment with these two aspects that I really like about the production and the composing elements of my track. So I came up with this riff. I'm just going to isolate it for you so you can hear it. Yes, so this is the riff. And then just going to keep soloing things. So when I put the S on my project, it means that I'm just isolating these tracks for you to be able to listen. And this software that I'm using, by the way, is called Logic. Which software do you use? If you record your music, just drop a comment so that I kind of have an insight on how you work. I know that you've had a few sessions with a couple of friends of mine in the past few weeks, Oscar and RG, and they use BandLab. And BandLab basically works the same way. So if you don't have the software on your computer, you can use it on your browser. How to approach production if I've never done it? Well, so basically, I think you just need to be you just need to play with it, honestly. As I always like to mention, you need to play to your own strength. So I remember Beatrice, you play guitar and you sing as well. So what happens when you have that awareness is that when you put your project into a grid, you know that you can explore your vocals a bit more and maybe just go a bit deeper into your vocal arranging skills. Or if you play guitar, as I started doing myself, you might want to think about different ways of playing your own guitar without thinking too much about which kind of instrument these ones could be. Because an interesting part of songwriting and production is that if you write this riff on guitar, again, it doesn't need to stay on your guitar. It can become a saxophone. It can become strings. There's actually something really interesting about this track that I'm going to show you in a second. I can see some people use different softwares, GarageBand. Yes, I remember starting with GarageBand earlier on. Ableton. Yeah, so basically Ableton and Logic and GarageBand, they're basically doing the same things, but they have different shortcuts. I would say this is another thing that I'd like to stress. It doesn't matter which software you use as long as you know how to use it and if you feel comfortable with it. So it's really nice to hear that people have an insight on different softwares. And yesterday I was chatting with some producer that actually used 3 different softwares for 3 different things. So you might want to explore their option too. So once you understand what's the strength of your song, for example, one element that I drew from my guitar is the rhythmical element. So it was fairly easy for me to get my drummer involved to play some drums and kind of mimic the same groove. So for the sake of you being able to listen to the whole groove, I'm just going to solo what he is doing on drums, and then reintroduce the other elements. So let's start, for example, from here. can see, there is a bed that is made out of this drum, and the drums are just supporting what I've been doing. So remember, when you're a producer, you're a director of your own project. So every sort of idea comes out of what's the strength of your project. Again, I can't stress that enough. Vocals and guitars were the leading, well, let's say the anchor of my composition, and everything else that I do in production comes out of that. Lucy is just adding to the chat that you can use BandLab on any computer, not just on Mac. So just for everyone to be aware of that, it's a very easy software to use, and it's so handy that it's online. I've got a question from Jess. How can I write and produce songs if money is limited? That's a great question. What I would say, first of all, a good shout is BandLab. Because you don't have to pay for it. You can start creating anything you want, and it basically works like Logic. You can record things in. Let's take a few examples, like your vocals. If you want to record your vocals, take your phone, record your vocals on your phone, and then you send them to your computer. It's going to sound good. It doesn't have to be a finished product, but it's going to sound good. Because your production can also be a demo. It could also happen in stages. So that's the simplest version of good quality vocals that I can offer. Then when it comes to recording guitar, drums, all of these elements, there's always a shortcut. So what I would say, start with an easy setup. If you have one of these softwares, decide whether you want to invest on a couple things that a producer would use to create their own music. So I would definitely advise to buy a MIDI controller, a MIDI keyboard, where you basically can do anything you want. You can sample things that you record. One thing that I do very often is, for example, recording my vocals, chopping them in bits, putting them on keys on my, actually I have it here, on my MIDI controller. This is, oh my God, where's my camera? £35, I believe. Yeah, there's a version of this keyboard from Akai that should be £35. I was chatting about this yesterday with a friend. So basically, you chop your vocals, you put them in there, you play around it, and maybe a nice composition comes out. Same thing you can do with any instrument. I would definitely also think later down the line to invest on a sound card. So sound card, I would definitely advise buying Focusrite. They're relatively cheap, and you can plug in any instrument or your microphone. So there's plenty of cheaper options also on that side. For example, if you're looking for a cheap microphone, sometimes they come with bundles when you buy your interface. So would definitely have a try at achieving the best sounding demo as you can with a simple setup, and then thinking about adding other elements or re-recording other elements if you really care about re-recording certain elements. So I hope I replied to your question, but if there's any more insight you would like to know, I will come back to that. I just have a final bit to show you about this track, actually. So I wanted to create this jazz folk vibe, and I also really wanted to explore having a cinematic sound. And when I think about cinematic sound, I think about strings, absolutely. So I got in touch with an amazing string arranger. Again, you don't have to get in touch with people and work for a fee, but it could also be a skill exchange. Even when this is for just again, even when you're thinking of recording bass and you're not maybe playing bass and you'd like a friend to play bass on your track and they've got a nice setup, just consider maybe exchanging the favor with recording something for them or anything you could help on the musical side. So I've had loads of collaborations where I was just exchanging favors with people. That's also a good option. Obviously you can work with a fee, but I understand, we all have different budgets, and in this moment, historical moment, we all have tight budgets in a way. So basically, I got in touch with this arranger, and she's called Kadia Bonet. She's absolutely great, and she worked with some amazing people like Sir, really great R&B artist, or Childish Gambino, you might know. And that's what she came up with. You remember that riff on guitar that I was mentioning? She did something really interesting with strings, so I'll let you listen to what she's done. Amazing. So this is how far I wanted to go with the project, and this is a mixed. Before I move to mixing, which is the last bit of this part, and an additional collaborations, I just wanted to read another question. Can we earn much by being songwriters for someone else? And if not, how does it benefit us? Great question from Jess. I would say there's plenty of people that have a great salary by writing songs for other people. I think if you really develop that skill of writing songs and you know exactly what kind of market they appeal to, but also they sound authentic and they're musically strong, and you build nice connections also with performers and singers, it could really be a profitable career. I truly believe so. There's plenty of examples. I was mentioning Sia earlier on. I mean, she's a wealthy person because she wrote songs for big stars, but I would definitely if that's your ambition, I would definitely think of establishing connections with musical people that you also think they might need someone to write with, because there's also plenty of co-writing going on in this world, or writing some for them, definitely. And if not, if you write for yourself, you also need to be ready to face some of the challenges that this industry offers. So you are your own product. So talking about my experience as an artist, sometimes I found it difficult to be understood as an artist because not everything personally, I don't work at the mercy of the market, and sometimes it takes time for people to understand what you're doing. So we need to be patient, definitely, but there's plenty of things that we can do while we do this job. So one thing that I do is either producing for other people for a fee, or exchanging favors or learning from other people. Some other things you could do could be playing for bands or acts. That's also really nice source of salary. That's one thing. One of our workshop leader, Oscar, is absolutely well known for his project, but also for his collaborations with a lot of other bands in the London music scene. So that's also really great to do, just putting your hands a bit everywhere, because definitely it's not a narrow career. You just don't get to do just that, but you develop so many skills that you can apply them to so many different areas. What's the youngest songwriter ever known to actually accomplish becoming one? I don't know what you mean by becoming one. I guess a great songwriter. The youngest one, I mean, definitely I think like Paul McCartney and John Lennon were really doing great at a very young age. There's plenty of ghost writers on pop songs that we listen to. So I would definitely advise, if, for example, you have Spotify, to have a look onto the credits of some of your favorite artists, because you will find that most of these songs will share the same writers, and a lot of them are young people. There's an amazing producer and writer based in London called MIV. I was chatting to her just yesterday night, and she's amazing, and I definitely think she's top level. And I was just advised having a look into some of the artists that you really love and researching them, because they collaborate with different people. Just to wrap it up, because I'm aware of timing and I'm aware there's going to be a Q&A later on, I just wanted to say that if you want to release your music professionally and you're not a great let me just stop my screen share. If you're not a great mixing engineer, but you have an idea of how a premix should sound, I would definitely advise working with a professional mixing engineer, because mixing could be an extension of your songwriting and production. For what concerns Red Coat, one thing that I really wanted to do was making sure the strings would travel between my voice and my guitar. So just playing with penning, so going from one ear to another, traveling in space around my head. Those were really important elements. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted because I see some other questions and suggestions are coming through. Brendan Bailey Johnson. I actually don't know this person, Lucy. Thank you for the shout. I will check him out. Thanks. So that was it on the production mix and mixing side. Again, if you have a tight budget, explore the idea of reaching out to your friends, colleagues, or people you know and offer them something. Very often is appreciated, and people will be happy to support your work. If you have a small fee, it's always appreciated, but this is an interesting time for this kind of collaborations, and I definitely found myself putting some favors and giving favors back. So explore that as well. Very, very last thing that is going to take us a minute. I wanted to ask if anybody that is following us right now has ever worked on a visual project connected to their music or for someone else. Any creative director, any visual person, feel free to mention even work of people, like music videos that are really exciting for you. I'd like to know if you have an idea of what you actually like on that side too, because personally, I had no idea of what kinds of music videos or movies were my favorite ones for a long while. I just never paid attention to that too much, and I started educating myself later on. I was raised up watching MTV. Maybe this is another completely different generation, but when I was little, I would watch MTV, and those were the music videos that I loved. But anyways, there's plenty of great ones. So just let me know if there's anything that you find super exciting. And I'm going to share with you my very last piece of work, which is basically, let me just do this properly. So sorry, technology. Yes, here we are. So if you're thinking of working with anybody on the on the visual side of things, I would strongly advise you prepare what I would call a mood board. So for example, if you have a look at this sheet, some of the things that I had in mind were definitely images about locations. I had in mind some of the music videos that I really love. There's always an original idea that is the core of what you're doing. And some useful question that you could ask yourself. Remember, there's going to be some resources that we will share with you if you're interested in having some of the things I worked on behind the scene. And how do you find your team? So I'm going to literally read that for you because I think it's really important. So don't think small, always think big and scale your ideas down according to your resources and budget, which is basically what we were talking about before. I'd much rather think about something absolutely megalomaniac and then scale it down than starting from something small, and then make it smaller and smaller. Have a look around you before you reach out to people you don't know. You might be surrounded by more creative people than you think, and that's something I also mentioned before. Team up with people that will have a final vision of the project by having a look at your mood board. So make sure you don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's important also to know that we don't need to be able to do everything. There's people that know how to do certain things that we don't know how to do, and as long as they understand your vision and they have a final vision as well, that's great. And last, be flexible and justify your input if you feel strong about it. Yes, so basically that's it from me. I'm going to read the last few questions and then I'm going to welcome Jenny back in the room. And also wanted to mention that if you want to check the music video for Red Coat after this session, feel free to do it, because it's going to incorporate all of these ideas and you're going to have the whole sound in your head and the whole visuals for your eyes. I would like to in the future make this track of my sister music video. So many funny comments. My God, Miles made a diss track of my sister and a music video. Interesting. I mean, you were authentic to how you were feeling, so I won't judge that. Don't give up 14. I haven't, but I would like to in the future, definitely. It's such an interesting field, and make sure you're open to learning and exploring things that you don't know, and you let other people help you with that. With this closing deep sentence, I'd like to welcome Jenny back in the room. Thank you so much for being so on it and for adding so many lovely comments about your experience.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Lovely. So many questions. I was just like, brilliant. Yeah, good. It was interesting that yeah, I really found the question about yeah, can you make a living writing songs for other people a really important one, because I think that was from Jess. I think she asked that a couple of times. And yeah, like if you look at kind of artists that you like, 9 out of 10 times they won't have written the song on their own. At least, or other people will have written the song for them. So I think one of the problems with streaming services is that you don't really kind of get to delve deep into who's been involved in the making of a song, or an EP or an album. Whereas when you kind of used to buy physical products, and I guess if you buy vinyl, although that's expensive, like that's a kind of opportunity, isn't it, to like really delve deep into kind of seeing like who wrote each song and who played on each song. So I think, yeah, just doing some research around that is probably kind of might be worthwhile, because yeah, most popular artists don't write their own songs. Did you answer that question? I missed that one about like who we think the youngest songwriter ever known.
I did try to think about it. Actually, I think Stevie Wonder was really young when he started releasing his own music. But I mean,
I kind of thought maybe like the Jackson 5, like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, definitely that.
But I don't know if they wrote their own songs. See, that's the thing.
I'm not informed. Yeah.
You'd have to check their you'd have to check the back catalogue and see who actually who owns those songs. But okay, so
actually I have it.
You have it? What is it?
I have it. I think it might be, well, if I think about contemporaries, maybe Billie Eilish. She's massive, and she started when she was 14, 15, right, writing her own song. Justin Bieber, I think, there's a lot of this kind of trend of YouTube stars that happened when I actually was their age. Well, Justin Bieber's age at the time, for example, it was something really trendy. And I think like when YouTube came in, it was a game changer for a lot of younger people. So I'm not talking about classic people, but at the moment, I think these ones are quite young songwriters in the game.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like that's there's an opportunity to do some googling there. Okay, so if you've got some questions, some kind of any kind of question that you want to ask Sans Soucis right now, please pop them in the chat. We've got some questions that have were sent through kind of via socials, which I can ask as well. What do you find the most challenging part of the production process? And what bits do you ask others to do?
Hmm. The most challenging part. So basically, I'm a very indecisive person, and I have a lot of ideas at the same time. So I find really challenging trying to narrow down my ideas to something really focused. So I think that's probably it, and just trying to be patient with it. I'm not actually very patient myself. So production is about being patient and going back to your project again and again and again, because there's going to be revisions, but also having a timeline is really helpful, because at some point there's a final revision and your idea is going to be stronger and probably closer to the final. So I think that's really challenging about it, and it's taught me a lot about being patient, definitely. What bits do I ask other people to do? Anything that I cannot do. So for example, if I want to learn how to program drums, and that's what I actually did in the past, I got in touch with a producer that would work with drums, and I learned how to do it in the process of co-producing one of my tracks. And now I produce most of my tracks, but also it depends, because there's some people that really would gift your track with something that you really can't do, not because you can't do it, but because everyone has their specialty. So if you really love a pianist playing, instead of spending a lot of time in the moment trying to learn what they do, sometimes it might be easier to just reach out and be like, can you play on my track? I think you sound lush. And then you take your time to learn what they do. But yeah, definitely less pressure on that, because I used to put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yeah, I think collaborations in any way, shape, or form are great. And we've talked in the previous webinars about the kind of importance of working with friends and people that you trust, especially in the beginning. And actually, for those of you who have been following musicians like Sans Souci and Oscar, who are very much kind of part of the UK jazz scene at the moment. A lot of these musicians like Coco Rocco and Seed Ensemble and Moses Boyd Exodus and Nabaya Garcia, they were all friends. They all started out as friends when they were kind of very young teenagers and kind of made music together as friends. And then it kind of built from there. So
Yeah, yeah.
really good point. So another question: do you think it's better to self-release or look for a label? I know that you and I have had a very big discussion about this as part of our development program, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, what a tough question. I would say I came to the conclusion that, first of all, it depends on people. There's not a standard answer to that. Personally, I would say it's always better to go to a label or to a publisher when you are confident about certain things that you can do, you can provide, because you don't want people to tell you what to do, especially when you want to keep developing your sound, you want to grow. You just want to make sure you're confident about what is your core sound or what you enjoy doing, so that once you have those conversations, it's more balanced. And also, from a financial point of view, that would also really determine how much of what you do you own. So if ownership is important to you, I would definitely consider spending some time being independent. And what I enjoy about being independent at the moment is that I spent quite a lot of time experimenting with my production when I was still learning how to produce my own music and developing my taste. Getting to a point right now where I feel like with my next release as an independent artist, my next stage would be probably talking with a bigger team, a label or a publisher, to get some more money in and make the project grow bigger. But it really depends on you. That's my take on it.
That's exactly what Oscar said actually in the first webinar that we did. He was talked about how he self-released initially, and then his his album last year was released with, I think, Caroline International.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, same answers, interestingly.
Good.
So we've got a question from Jess. Thank you, Jess. So she asks, what's the most popular aesthetic and music and vibe of music? She says that she writes quite sad and emotional songs and poems to express her feelings and to relate and help to other people. So I guess I'm sort of reading between the lines, wondering if Jess is asking, like, would that be something that would be considered? Would people want to listen to that? Is that considered kind of a commercial thing? Like, what's the sort of popular thing? Is that right, Jess? Just kind of say yes, or if you want to kind of explain a bit more. But yeah, Sans Soucis, why don't you have a go answering that?
Yeah.
As
I
well.
was. No
Sorry
worries.
if that happens. I'm gonna try and suppress it.
No worries. Yeah. I mean, what I try to do is not to pay too much attention to trends because trends change like the wind. Literally, like I could tell you what's the trendiest thing today, and tomorrow is something different. And I think everyone should be aware that to create a body of work, to release anything in music and art, it takes time. So you might find yourself working for the wrong motive. And then at some point the trend changes and you feel like you're off trend, which is something that I wouldn't want people to experience because it's emotionally it's really it doesn't make you feel like you're valued. So I would say value yourself first, and I can tell you like the field of emotional songs and poems, which is great. There's quite a lot of artists that I love that talk about vulnerability, including Billie Eilish. Actually, she's really great. She's got an amazing aesthetic, great production, and definitely I feel like that's a really nice spot for pop. There's also, artists like Lana Del Rey. She went really like vintage and melancholic and cinematic as well. There's Lianne La Havas, beautiful songwriting and very compelling way of writing, putting words together. So I would definitely check these three artists, and if I have anything else in mind, I will mention them.
I love Leanne La Havas so much.
Me too.
Have you listened to that track that she did with Oscar on his?
Yeah, beautiful.
So lovely. Um, I've got a question for you, which actually kind of is about something that you said in the video around meditating and painting, and just kind of, do you sort of feel like uh, you talked about that was your kind of time for nothing, and I just kind of wanted to just kind of explore that a little bit in terms of like the importance of nothingness to create a fertile void for ideas and little kind of seedlings of inspiration.
Yeah. I recently watched this movie. I mean, I keep going back to this movie about Vincent van Gogh called At the Gates of Eternity, I think. And the other day I noticed he said something really similar in the movie. I mean, the script was saying something really similar, that when he painted, that was the only way he could be present. Which was so beautiful because I'm such a fan. I mean, I adore Van Gogh's paintings, but what I mean by that is literally that peace that you find in not being engaged with your thoughts and just enjoying how colors look on paper and how they make you feel, and enjoying the fact that you don't have any pressure on making decisions, because meditation and painting is an exercise like a muscle memory. So if you are able to practice entering that space by doing anything that distracts you from overthinking, then that will naturally inspire different and more creative ways to compose and arrange and produce.
So examples of that, I'm going to throw in a couple of other examples. So swimming might be something which could where you're just sort of focused on swimming, and that can be quite meditative. Or cooking is another one. I think when you're kind of just switched off and like focusing on that. And I think um, we live in a society that really encourages being very active. We're on our phones a lot, we're on our computers a lot, we're constantly doing all the time. And actually, I think what you kind of were saying in that video is really important, and something I've been exploring recently around just learning to do nothing and learning to create sort of this nothingness in your head. It could also just be boredom, you know, like that's also part of it, is like
Part
it's
of the creative process, yeah.
yeah, it's being a bit bored, and not distracting yourself with a million and one things. So okay, right, so I'm going to, I think we've hit 5 o'clock, so I think let's do like, well, I'll ask one more question, and then I've got a couple of quick fire ones, and then we'll wrap up. Oh, someone just said something really lovely here. Don't give up. I feel like authenticity and staying true to yourself is really important. You can lose your passion by focusing on trends. Yeah, so important. Okay, so question from Jess again. Is it better to have social media when starting off in your career?
Um,
Mm.
so conflicted about social media. But in a time like this, it's helped a lot of people to flourish in their careers. I would say before you install a social media app, just make sure you know what it does. I've just read a book that it's called 30 Days to Break Up with Your Phone. Amazing book. Where it explains to you what social media apps do to you. So if you're using your social media apps to work, just make sure you use them to work and you don't end up in that black hole of just seeing everyone in, scrolling down. And it's good to engage, but give yourself some boundaries, because it is very distracting, especially like turn off your notifications if you can, because also notification can distract you from whatever you're doing. So if you treat it like that, it's really helpful for your career, especially because it's important to say that social media apps disrupt your focus. So if you spend so much time looking at notifications and being on your phone, you won't be able in a long term to actually do a focused task for a long time, and to build long-term memories. How crazy is this, you know? Long-term memories made out of small memories. So if you are constantly distracted, you don't have a chance to build those memories. So make sure you set your boundaries. You know, I spend time on social media at the beginning of my working day and at the end of my working day. And if I have to do it in between, it's literally for communications and anything that is work related. But I need to tell myself, stop it now. After like 7, 8, this is not work. Why are you on Instagram? No. So that's important.
Yeah, I think it's really, really valuable advice. I think I have to agree with that. I quit social media a few years ago, and I tried to get back into it towards the end of last year. And actually, having been off it for so long, I was just like, I don't understand the point of this anymore. But yeah, I think I think it's difficult. I mean, certainly through our career development program, you know, there's a real conflict when we're mentoring the musicians who we support, like Sans Soucis. There's a real conflict between like what being able to have that space and that time and that concentration for your creative process, but also, you know, when you're kind of doing it all yourself, like, you know, you do kind of need to have a social media presence. So I think that advice about having some boundaries around it is really important. And yeah, there are a few books out there about breaking up with your phone, how to break up with your phone. 30 days how to break up with your phone. There's a few of them out there, and I actually did a whole coaching session with one of our mentees about breaking up with his phone because he was really feeling the damage of that on his creative process. So just like we just did a couple of exercises on like, you know, what do you love about your phone and what do you hate about your phone, like what do you not like about it, and to just kind of like see like where are the benefits and where are the non-benefits, and maybe what life was like when you didn't have a phone, and what you were able to do without when you didn't have that in your life. So maybe just some thoughts to kind of think about. And some lovely comments from Don't Give Up 14. Thank you so much. And then, okay, so I've got a couple of like quick fire ones for you. Can you name me 5 tracks that you couldn't live without?
Ooh.
It's a tough one, isn't
I
it?
named Stevie Wonder. The first thing that came to my mind is Overjoy by Stevie Wonder. So good. And there's, okay, another one I couldn't live without. Wow, it's so tough. There's a song by Hiatus Coyote called Fingerprints that is so compelling. I'm always in the emotional side that, I don't know, it's just really beautiful and it makes me cry when I listen to it. There's another song by an Italian songwriter called Lucio Battisti, and the song is called Emozioni, that talks about feelings. And the journey of your feeling, literally the song goes from quietness to anger to frustration to quietness again, peace. So beautiful and so beautifully written. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I think that's so many memories about my life and childhood. First song I've ever sung in front of an audience, and The Wizard of Oz. Anyways, I just love The Wizard of Oz. And I think I have one last one. I think, I couldn't live with it. This is so difficult. I mean, I don't know. I just want to. There's so many songs that I love. I would say, you know what? I would say Congolese music at my family's parties. Franco Luambo is like my childhood, and that's my understanding of groove and the sound of life for me. So I would say anything by Franco Luambo, Rumba Congolese. That's my love. I couldn't live without that.
Yeah, you mentioned him in the video, didn't you?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so final question before we wrap up. Who are 3 artists that we should be checking out right now?
Huh. I would say before entering this session, I actually was listening to an amazing producer that was Grammy nominated this year, and she's called Jada G, like Jayda space G, and she produces and writes dance music. I love dance music, so I think great. That's a sweet spot. And then I would say check out Sam Vincent, one of my favorite artists. I think incredible producer and songwriter. She does everything, honestly, so great.
I also mentioned her. I feel like I might be going a bit mad, but I mentioned her because but yeah, I saw her live at I saw her headline Green Man Festival. When was it? Oh, I would have been 2015, I think. Yeah, in Wales. She was extraordinary.
Yeah, she definitely is. I have 2 more actually. So one is Solange, and the other one is Laura Mvula. I think both of I mean Solange because of everything. I think especially something super relatable. Well, for my life experience, the Afro-American experience, but also that could be translated in so many different places on the planet. She wrote this album, A Sit at a Table, that is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there's no adjective that could simplify what that album is. And then Laura Mvula, UK based, I think from Birmingham. yeah, she's gorgeous, and I think she's coming out with a full album this year after a few years that I've been waiting for it. So a lot of love to the women. Uh, but yeah, these are my suggestions.
They're great women. I've seen Lauren Vula live a couple of times. She's incredible, and yeah, she studied at Birmingham Conservatoire. She,
Yeah.
yeah, she's yeah, Birmingham woman.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's it. Sans Soucis. Thanks everyone for
Thank
showing
you.
up, for being here, for getting involved. We really appreciate your comments and your questions. Thank you, Sans Soucis.
Thank you
If
so
you want
much.
to check out Sans Soucis music, it's really easy. It's Sans Soucis music everywhere: website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole shebang. And we'll also put it in the comments section when we upload this video to our YouTube channel. So yeah, please make sure you subscribe to that Abram Wilson Foundation YouTube channel. And you can check out the other webinars. We've uploaded them, RGs and Oscars. Please leave comments, suggestions about how you felt this session went, what you think we could do better, what you'd like to see more of. Thank you to the Abram Wilson behind the scenes team, Adam, Lucy, and Ali, for all their hard work for making this happen. Final thank you to you guys for being here and for watching. And we hope to see you all again soon. Thanks so much again, Sans Souci.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.